All right, and we are live, folks. We are into week 2 of the Full Funnel Society. And let me pull it up over here. If you don't know what the Full Funnel Society is, well, we're going to get to Lou in a second. You're sleeping under a rock, and I'm here to take that rock off of you and awaken you into the Full Funnel Society. So as you can see here, we are on school.com in the Full Funnel Society, where you could come inside here and ask all the questions you need to from industry professionals like Lou, who we're going to introduce in a minute, in all the different aspects of the funnel, whether it be creative, ads, SEO, logistics, AI, automations, email marketing, tons and tons of stuff. We're working on having partners every single week with live streams such as this one right here, focused on all different topics, all different areas of your business, and where you can be helped and all that sort of good stuff. So kicking off our first partner webinar for the Full Funnel Society, we have Lou with ZonPrep. Lou, it is a pleasure. It's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, good man. Happy to be here. Happy to be part of the Full Funnel Society and excited to talk shipping and logistics. Everyone's not favorite topic until Q4 and all the stress comes in, but happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's fun, and you just tell people a little bit more about what you do. Most folks are going to know you, but from a 3PL logistics company, like you said, it's not sexy, right? It's not like creative, spending big money and getting the big return on the ads. It's the needed, the necessary, a lot of people say, and it's really true. I think Hormozi said it, and Gary V's probably said it. It's like, do the boring stuff. Do the boring stuff in business. The boring stuff is really where the money comes from. And nothing's more boring than logistics. No, I'm just kidding. But
I'll try not to be offended, but
no. But what tell folks what you guys do because when I think of 3PLs and logistics, I think of like, okay, well, I don't have a warehouse. You guys do it and you guys ship it out, but it's more than that, right?
Yeah, definitely. So we are certainly not your traditional 3PL. When you think of 3PL, you think hold my inventory, store it, pack it, pick it, send it to my Shopify, Target, Walmart, Amazon, all of that. We only prioritize the Amazon channel. That's all we do. We know that today, with 80% of American consumers having an Amazon Prime account, that the largest brands in the world, and the emerging brands of the world, are prioritizing Amazon as their number one channel 100% of the time. Now, you also know Amazon comes with a lot of nuance. It comes with a lot of needed expertise that changes essentially on a weekly, daily basis, it feels like at times. So we made the strategic choice to only focus on Amazon. We have 2 core offerings that we provide our clients. First, very topical, as Amazon is moving away from prep services. We provide fully managed prep services to our clients. We can receive your products, prep them for FBA with 99.98% compliance, create those shipment plans, optimize those shipment plans, get them into FBA faster. And as of March of last year, when Amazon rolled out the inbound placement fee for the first time, when they started charging people for it rather, we were uniquely positioned to help more people turn what has become some of the biggest headaches of FBA logistics, turn those into competitive advantages by offering a cross-dock solution essentially. So now, for clients that hit certain minimums, we can actually get their products into FBA, help them avoid inbound placement fees altogether, saving them tons of money and, even more importantly to some folks, tons of time as well.
So for folks tuning in that they're like, fees, what? Like, can you explain a little bit more? Like, what is let's deconstruct what is an FBA inbound placement fee? Why is it there? What is it for? And then what is changing?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're sharing right now, if you want to scroll down, and that top box, and we can drop the link to this if you haven't seen it. That top box is where you're currently paying today, right? So you'll see there's a range of fees, and it varies based off of weight, primarily is what you're seeing in this chart here. But the inbound placement fee is applied to sellers for having Amazon split their inventory for them. So when you're creating a shipping plan, you can select one of the following inventory inbound placement options: either minimal splits, which means you can send your inventory to Amazon, the minimal number of inbound locations, and have them split it for you. They are charging you to do that. for each split, or there's optimized splits, which is where you are ultimately sending into 5 regional facilities instead of Amazon doing that for you, where you can eliminate the inbound placement fees, but then there's the additional costs of managing the trucks to those facilities. And then there's, of course, check-in times and all that you have to deal with as well. So
it's basically like typical Amazon, like, hey, you want us to do it? It's going to cost you. Or if you want to do the legwork, fine, go ahead. Right. And then really, who is that affecting? Right. Obviously, the fees are increasing. Right. As of January 15th, there's new fees over here. But, who is the person that's like, screw it, I'll just do the Amazon optimized shipment splits myself, versus like, what's the 80-20 here? Are most folks in this column and they're not going to do that? Or like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think it's very subjective, and you can stop the screen share at this point, I think, John. But
Sure.
And it really comes down to like the brand's own internal sophistication, quite frankly, the seller's sophistication in a lot of ways. It comes on to the infrastructure of the team, the ability to actually have bandwidth to do this optimized type of solution, right? Like the reason why anyone pays Amazon to do anything generally is the convenience of it, right? Amazon rolls these things out and they say, hey, look, we're going to do this for you. It's going to be at a premium. You pay it, but you don't got to worry about it. So that's why brands choose to pay it. It's easy. It goes in. It's fast in their minds because they don't have to deal with it, right? Versus the more strategic operators say, okay, well, we're getting products into Amazon. We're paying inbound placement fees. That's costing us. We're also carrying anywhere from 45 to 90 to 120 days of storage in FBA, paying storage costs on those. How can we start looking at ways to get product in faster and bring down the costs associated with all of our operations, right? And I think there's like this mindset of, well, operational excellence is a cost center, when in reality it's a profitability booster and revenue generating center if it's done properly. So if I can, what I'd like to share is actually what happens to products when you're paying inbound placement fees, because I think a lot of people don't actually know or aware that this flow is taking place.
Yeah, and I think while you pulled it up, it's interesting because you and I looked at this yesterday, and me not being an Amazon seller myself, I look at it and I'm like, okay, Lou, it's 2 cents, it's 4 cents, it's 6 cents. And then you broke it down and you're like, well, dude, that's like times how many thousands of units across how many SKUs across XYZ. So that adds up. That's a lot.
It's a lot for sure, and the smaller your products are, obviously, right, potentially that you're going to see higher fee, more fees. But if you look at that chart that we'll share with everybody, the larger increases on inbound placement fees are on the larger standard items. Those are basically doubling if you look. But what you're looking at right now, this is what happens to your products when you're paying inbound placement fees. Right. So your products start at your warehouse. You've created your shipment plan, probably using partner carrier program to pick it up, comes in, goes, gets to a national cross-dock center, inbound cross-dock center, a national inbound cross-dock center. And this is where FC transfer processes begin. So when you go into the shipping queue, you see FC transfer, it's taking days, weeks, you're pulling your hair out, you're upset. This is where it begins. It goes to a national. From there, then Amazon says, okay, we're going to send your products to these 5 regional locations. There's about 40 of those around the United States. They pick 5. From there, it's then transferred again to a local fulfillment center. Now, this last stop is when your products are Prime eligible. Now, they're listed as sellable as soon as they hit the national inbound cross-dock center, right? But they're not technically Prime eligible. They're not really sellable until they're actually there. So this whole process is taking sellers during non-peak times anywhere between an average of 20 to 26 days to complete, to see 80% of that shipment Prime eligible.
So let me just ask you this. So does it, what if I live right next door to a regional? Does it still go to the national, or does your location of where you are as a business owner come into play at all with this kind of stuff? Or is it like, nope, doesn't matter if you're down the block from the regional, it's got to go to national, then go to regional?
What matters is AI algorithms that Amazon says where your products sell best, right? So you can't choose the facilities you're necessarily going into off the bat. Amazon says if you're creating a shipment plan, you're either choosing to create the shipment plan with minimal splits, meaning you're sending it to Amazon and they're splitting it for you and doing that work, or I'm optimizing the splits. Amazon is still telling you the 5 centers that you need to go to, right, at the end of the day. So it is possible, for example, where it's like you would send like our clients. This is a weird example, but we have clients that are in California. They will send their products from California to our facility in Georgia, so we can then send them back to California because our inbounding is so much faster than the normal inbound process, and because we're sending directly to those regional centers with live unload appointments, their prime eligibility time decreases substantially. So to them, as weird as it sounds to go across the country to come back to the country, it works for them. That doesn't mean that's going to work for you. Every brand has unique situations, unique logistic costs that they need to consider, profitability numbers they need to consider, work motions and standard operational procedures. Also comes down to like, are you actually able to optimize with your product catalog? Is it capable of being optimized? Do you have enough inventory to send to 5 regionals?
It's a wild concept to go from California to Georgia and back to California and still be faster, right? Like you would, if you put that on paper and showed someone, they would think, Lou, you're insane. There's no way that that's faster, right? But I think the science and the logic and reasoning behind, and like you said before, like Amazon's AI and their algorithm is strong for like customers and sellers, but even more on the logistics end, like it's going to know exactly like, okay, you sell more over here, so we're going to send more to this warehouse, right? Regardless of where you're located per se.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's why, you know, I challenge people a lot, because the popular answer and what everybody is doing, that is rarely the most strategic and best answer. It's usually what the masses are doing. It's already been done and it's played out, right? To take a phrase. Yeah. But like the really shrewd operators, when you start getting into the weeds with them about these things, and you put out a proposition as asinine as that sounds on the front end of shipping your products across the country to go back to get closer to where you're going to be, that's intriguing to them, like it was to you. It's like, well, tell me more about that. And then when you peel the curtain back and you start to understand how the processes work with what we're doing, because I want to make it clear, like what we're doing, there's no secret sauce. There's no proprietary, we can't tell you how we're accomplishing this, right? Like we have achieved massive scale. The amount that we're shipping into Amazon is gigantic. So what we're doing for our clients is we're allowing them to ultimately create every shipment optimized, rather than that. Now, and when you make that choice, you have to weigh the pros and cons. Like most sellers, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, I'm going to create this shipment. I'm going to run a cost analysis. If it's more expensive to pay placement fees, right, than it is to go ahead and do an optimized shipment, then I'll do optimized shipment. But if it's less expensive to pay placement fees than it is to do optimized, then I'll pay placement fees. Oftentimes, the placement fee strategy is less expensive. So on paper, in their mind, they're like, I've made a strategic decision. I've saved money. Check, done, next thing. Yeah. But in reality, the placement fee strategy is delaying their check-in times. It's delaying their time to prime eligibility. This impacts the amount of on-hand inventory they have to keep in storage, right? There's a lot of I guess, considerations that people aren't thinking about. Yeah. It's just saying, you know what, we're going to go optimize. But the downside to going optimized internally is, well, it's more complicated and it's expensive, because let's be honest, most sellers are not achieving the scale where they can send full trucks into regionals every single week. Yeah. So instead of managing high LTL cost, complicated shipping plans and redirects between different centers, they just create one optimized shipment plan. They send all their products to one of our facilities. We then consolidate those products going to that same facility with other sellers, right? And we're sending full trucks daily, 30 plus, into the regionals. And because they're full trucks and we have that scale, we see inbounds within 48 hours. So as opposed to waiting weeks, a week or more for your products to get checked in, we're seeing 48. And that's why you really want to look at an optimized strategy if you can, and why we exist today and why we've been so popular, quite frankly.
And I think what most people, because that's going through my head, might think is like cool, is that more costly? And you might have touched on this, but is like the service of doing that with a 3PL logistics partner going to outweigh the 2 to 4 cents, that I'm going to be incurring, right? That's what I would think, where it's like, yeah, we're talking about increasing. And I have this example here that we took a look at that we'll drop a link in for people to kind of follow along. But we took a look at this, right? I just pulled like super expensive shampoo, right? To kind of see what that looks like over here. And then when we go down here to the Amazon, the inbounding cost, right? Normally it's at 41 cents. As of January 15th, it's going to an Amazon error. It was 44 cents, right? So it's a typical login issue. But yeah, so you were able to see that. We'll continue as guests here. So you were able to see that. And I thought that was really interesting. I think this is the same ASIN. Oh, these are Huggies, right? More errors. Way to go, Amazon.
But not a Zon Prep product.
No.
That is a calculator, to be clear.
That is an Amazon little fiasco. But I think that's a prudent question to ask, where it's like, hey, I'm going from 2 cents to 4 cents or 5 cents more, right? But we talked, the other day about what does that look like compounding for someone? Now, what level are you, if you're doing X amount of thousands of units, or, if you're at a specific kind of category, right? So like, are there those categories or product types where it's like you're seeing that this is more detrimental to them because of being in those categories?
I'd say it's more so around the weight of your products and how those categories dictate the weight, right? Like if you go back to that other chart where it breaks down the increased C's, you'll see the largest increases are going to be in large standard size, right? So when you get to the point to where you're like, yeah, perfect. So you go up on top here, standard size products, large standard, the first box.
This one?
No, right on top. So
yep.
February 2020 or February 20 through January 15. So yep. You can see there's a lot less categories, right? It's like 12 ounces or less, 12 ounces to 1.5 pounds, 1.5 to 3 pounds to 20.
Yeah.
Now you go down to this next box starting January 15th.
Yeah. It hits on the 5 pounds to the 20 pounds section over here.
Right. For sure.
And it's also doing for small, the 8 to basically a pound, 16 ounces.
Right. Well, this now it's going to be ranges. So those are going to range 16 cents to 32 cents. And what dictates the range is where it's going. Is it going west? Is it going east? Is it going central? Right. So that's why, like, it's when you ask the question of how do you calculate this and how do you really determine like what the best move is? Should I be working with a partner? Should we be paying placement? Historically, it's difficult to identify these things. Like Amazon doesn't have a dashboard where you can go in and say, show me my inbound placement fees, right? To do that. Like if you want to figure out how much you pay, you got to go to your payments dashboard, click the transactions view tab, select the services fee, drop-down menu, click update to view your FBA inbound placement service fee per shipment, locate the shipment ID under the order ID field in the transaction field. Then you can view the total fees charges on the shipment level, right? Like that's not an easy way to determine what your spend is.
It sounds like a headache already, and I was gonna run through it with a demo account, but now I don't know. Now it sounds like it's a multi-step process, and you would think when someone's charging you a fee, like I know for like me for anything, like I don't if you're charging me a fee, just tell me exactly what the fee is, right? But it seems like it's super duper buried and making it very difficult. But one thing before we get to the next thing about this, I think is super interesting is if you take a look at this, right? Small, as it is currently, right, until January 15th, for small standards, 16 ounces or less is this, but this one, the 8 ounces to 16 ounces is not even here. Does that mean that an 8 ounce to 16 ounce currently doesn't have an inbound placement fee?
If I'm reading that chart correctly, right, they're not charging them right now.
So that to me looks like oh crap compared to anyone, because if you were already doing the 16 ounce or less, right, you're already paying that fee now and it's going up a little bit. But if you were never paying that inbound placement fee in this kind of realm right here, that's going to be a slap right to your face, because it's not even like your fees going up. you're getting a new fee that's already at the increased rate.
Yeah, I'm actually a little embarrassed to say I didn't even catch that, John. That's a great call out right there.
Yeah. I
for
mean,
sure.
even for these guys, these add-ons, right? So the 3 pound to actually no, this is 3 pound to 20 pound. So this is already encompassing all of this stuff, right?
Correct. So again, that's where they break down the sections, and then you see like more fees, right? You used to get away 37 to 66, and now obviously like on the top end, you're going to pay $1.90 for some of
Oh,
those.
actually, now that I look at it in retro, they did the same thing over here. So it's not like they weren't paying it before. This is 16 ounces or less. So even someone that was 16 ounces was hit with this over here. They just refined it a little bit more. So it's like, okay, but in like what realm? You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a range of 14 to 32 cents for 8 ounces, but it's like you gotta look. That's a big range, because if you're towards, we're talking 8 ounces or less. So in my head, the logic would be, okay, if it's 4 ounces, it would be more towards the 14 cents. And if it was 8 ounces, it's more towards the 32 cents. But then over here, when it's 8 ounces to 16 ounces, that's almost a similar kind of range. So like, where does this one stop and where this picks up? I think that's a very important thing for people to look at, because this is taking into consideration not just the product weight, but the whole entire shipping weight, meaning the packaging and everything, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's critical for people that are like, if your product is already 7 ounces and the packaging and all this stuff makes it, I'm making up a number, another ounce.
If they get a poly bag on there with 6 inches of extra slack.
Yeah, like, but if it tips over to the next one, that might be a bigger jump, right? So that 8 ounces into the 9 ounces could be the difference of 14 cents to 32 cents. So I know we were looking at it and it was only going up 4 cents, 2 cents, but depending on the weight, now that they're not lumping it together as just, hey, this is one fee for this. Now they're getting really granular with it. So if you tip from this side into this side, what does that really mean? It could be doubling the fee. It could go, because the range is right here. So you could be at the 14 or 16 cents here, but if you tip into here, you might be towards the 20 cents or 30 cents.
Yeah. So what you can do, actually, that calculator that was working really seamlessly that that you gave to everybody there, because to your point, yes, you can use that calculator, and we can drop that for folks, where you can actually put your specific ASINs in there, and it will tell you, right, what that fee is going to be for those ASINs. So a good exercise for anyone watching right now would be to look at your top movers, look at those changes, right, and see what takes place.
So I just try to pick something super heavy.
Sure.
And inbound 521. So this one's not, you know what? Sorry, yeah. Amazon, you're just not working right for me.
I'm just saying this, we're glitching out on the revenue calculator. But to your point, so like you can't even trust an Amazon tool necessarily to like help you identify that, right? And I think, yes, all of the nuance within there is concerning, but the bigger consideration has to be not so much of an individual product item, how much am I paying per unit, but more like, what's the aggregate cost of my inbound placement fee strategy, right? Yeah. Like if I look at all of my shipment plans with all of my aggregate ASINs in there together, like what is the true cost of me playing inbound placement fees in two ways, just like black and white, paper, dollars, how much is it costing me on paper? And then how much is it costing me in other areas that I may not be thinking about, like excessive storage fees. AWD has been used a lot by people over the last year since Amazon Accelerate, right? And I think AWD offers a valuable service for when you're leveraging it the proper way. But I think we also saw the limitations of AWD this year in Q4, right? Where there's just more shrewd ways of getting products into Amazon that aren't paying inbound placement. I think like that's what this whole thing comes down to. We've developed something actually to make it very easy for sellers to identify what they're paying and what these costs actually look like. So happy to share it with everyone, but we have a Chrome extension that we can provide you with. It's in the Google Chrome store, where you take this, you download it, you run it on the shipping queue of your Seller Central page there, and let it do its thing. It'll spit you out a file. If you send that file back to us, we'll be able to create for you a beautiful, nice, what we call an opportunity analysis that takes us side by side of what your current operations look like today. So you're going to get some deep insights. You're going to understand what your check-in times to Amazon are today. How long is it actually taking for your products to get checked in? What's your average FC transfer time based off of the percentage of times you're paying placement versus optimized? What's the total cost that the strategy is costing you totally? And then we'll show you what that would look like with us, how much money you'd save, how that speed would increase potentially, what that looks like. And what I love, you at the beginning of the call, you mentioned, no, shipping and logistics is not sexy. And I come from, and I've been, in the Amazon space for longer than I care to admit at this point. But prior to shipping and logistics, I was in the retail media world, from the sexy side of the world, right? But like you said, this stuff is essential, right? But I think brands that are focusing on how do you make your operations super sexy, and how do we really say, you know what, this doesn't have to be a cost center, but there can be ways that our operations actually promote revenue growth, and we can feed some of this money back into stronger ad plays. Like, there's ways for teams to connect together, and our tool can help you identify that information for sure.
Cool. And on that note, let's go ahead and pull up on the screen Lou's LinkedIn profile and we see if it's true. Just kidding. No. So no, because I'm logged into an account here, and I'm just I pulled this up. So like, Lou, where can folks go inside that the FBA, the inventory, the logistics area, just so we can kind of walk through a little bit? Like, where's the best place to go to run that Chrome extension?
Yeah, so you can go right into their shipments right into the queue. If you just click on it from there.
So manage shipments, is that the idea?
Yep, manage shipments, there you go.
And you would run it here?
You would run it right here. So if you would just click on the extension, a little box will pop up. Let it do its thing. Let it do its thing. It'll take a bunch of data. Once you get that file, if you would like us to evaluate the data, you can go ahead and just shoot me an email. I'll provide my contact information as well. We can run that analysis for you, and we can put it in a nice presentation that shows you exactly what that looks like. I have one that we ran, that we presented actually to a client that will be onboarding with us soon, if you'd like to see an example of what that looks like.
Cool. And I just want to pull this up because I just think it's so interesting that Amazon is so giving of charts and data and information like this, like inventory age and excess and all these kind of things. But the funny thing is, it doesn't say like, hey, we're charging you a ton more over here. Maybe you want to do this differently. Hey, there's a ton more. You know what I'm saying? Their goal in just showing you this is like, hey, you want to sell more, you got to move more, you got to do this, you got to do that, versus having that transparency when it comes to like, we're charging you a ton more here. Here's the visibility and transparency on that. I've always noticed that when Amazon is, taking money from you, I think they're two different things. When it comes to ads, on the Trellis side of things, like, when clients are using our tool, and it's very transparent for the most part, like, you're spending money here, this is how much you're making because they're getting money from you. I think it's a different dynamic is when it's like a charge, right? When it's a charge like that, like all these fees and stuff like that, you have to, poke through all different things and peel away to really understand, because it's kind of like those hidden fees on like your cell phone bill or your car lease. Like, what, document fees? I had to pay for the guy's coffee that delivered my car. What do you mean? Like all these different fees that they pepper in there. So I think that's super interesting. So let me ask you this as we get to wrap up a little bit. What have you seen and don't say anyone's name, don't get in trouble, Lou, but what's the most you've seen, like, clients and brands that you guys work with that have been affected dollar amount wise from these inbound placement fees? And then, what that's going to look like, like when they came to you and said, Lou, you saved us $100K, like, is it 100,000? Like, is it in 6 digits in like amount of fees for that kind of thing?
Absolutely. There are multiple brands, very recognizable brands that I personally have brought on in the last, 4 months that have spent over $1 million in FBA inbound placement fees. And that wasn't even in necessarily a 12-month period, right?
Wow.
So it's they're substantial. And to the, to what you said earlier, Amazon kind of does this thing, which I love Amazon. Like I love Amazon. I think everyone here loves Amazon. Like we wouldn't have businesses, we wouldn't be successful without them, right? Like my kids scream when they see an Amazon truck, they go Amazon, right? Like all those things. But I think one thing that they do, and people feel a certain type of way is they give resources that make things really helpful. And then once people are like, man, this is awesome, then they make you pay for it, right?
Yeah. It's you hooked. They get the ease of use hooked.
Exactly. But you can't move away from it at that point, right? Like it's so ingrained. Like the AWD thing is a perfect example. Accelerate a year ago, great event, but they're really pushing AWD successfully, I might add. And then this year, we heard from a lot of sellers that they were getting told that they couldn't ship into AWD as early as like 2 weeks before Amazon Accelerate, which is kind of wild, So I think like, yeah, to your point, these things happen. And to something I said earlier is if you're doing what everybody else is doing, chances are you're paying more than you should be, or you're losing an optimization, or there's something better that you could be doing.
Yeah.
The shrewdest operators are saying, what are the 1% to 2% of sellers doing? And I want to do what those are, right? And so that's what we've been doing. So that's why, frankly, like we're getting really loud now for the first time. We've been around for almost a decade. It's OnPrep, right? Like, and just in the last like 6 months, you've seen a lot of noise, a lot of stuff, because we just can't ethically stand by any longer and not tell people like that there's a better way to do these things. So we'll continue to be loud, continue to help, and hopefully people see the light.
It's just so interesting though, because if I was Amazon, I'd be pissed at you guys. I'd be like, we're making millions on these fees, and you're going around. And I'm surprised they don't send the mob after you guys to come cracking their knuckles at the door and saying like, "What's up? Why?" But I think they understand that in everything, when it comes to PPC management, when it comes to creative, when it comes to logistics, Amazon's going to always have their in-house solution, but they also understand they're going to have partners in the space for folks that just want different options, for folks that want to streamline. Because at the end of the day, if a brand is happy and they're selling well and they're doing well and they're making more money, Amazon makes more money. So it's just, maybe it's not on that multi-million-dollar fee, but now if they're more profitable, more sustainable because of that, they're able to sell more and longer on the platform holistically.
And they're providing better customer experiences to the people that are buying on Amazon. And I think that's what it comes down to, right? And even Andy Jassy talked about this extensively at Amazon Accelerate, where he's like, every decision that we make ultimately comes down to the person that smile is getting delivered to their door, right? And when we talk about like, it's easy to sit on a pedestal and say, Amazon wants to make more money, and so they're charging sellers to make more money. It's much harder, and it takes a very introspective business to say, actually, Amazon is forcing and pushing sellers to be more excellent operationally. Yeah. Because when brands and sellers are more excellent operationally, they can provide better experiences for their clients. At the end of the day, Amazon's goal is to delight their customers. At the end of the day, any good brand has that same goal: provide a customer experience that is delightful and remembering, right? So I think like this is a shift, a continued shift in things that we've seen Amazon do over the last few years in terms of saying, hey, look, if you want to play on this platform, you need to play in an optimized and really strategic way. And I think we're going to continue to see that. So I think like the more I guess against these types of changes you are, it's the harder it's going to be for you. The more you're like, okay, I get it, got to play by the rules. Now figure out the rules and then find a partner that can help you play by those rules really, really fast.
Embrace the change, folks. Embrace. You've heard it here first. Embrace it. Open arms. That being said, talking about open arms, come on into the school community. Lou is going to be there with the rest of our partners inside of there as well. Go on in there. There's going to be open discussions. If you have questions, if you have issues, if you have problems, if you want tactics on ways on how to fix this or understand this, or hey, maybe you just want to say, here's my data, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. Lou, can you tap someone on the shoulder for me to help me go through this with a fine-tooth comb? And that's what our partners are going to be in there to do, is to really strategize, help, give nothing but value, all that kind of good stuff. So Lou, I appreciate you kicking it off. Lou, you're the first partner on the weekly webinar over here for the Full Funnel Society. So that's going to be awesome. So catch Lou in the Skool community. Also follow the LinkedIn page as well as the YouTube page. But if you guys are interested, we're going to make sure to drop the link for that in the description when we upload it to YouTube. So it'll be there. But I already did a screen share on that. So you can go right to Skool right there, type in Full Funnel Society, join membership. It's free. It's an entire donut goose egg of a cost. So why not go in there and get all value? So this is the first of many. Every week we're doing this. We're going to be doing creative generative AI next week. We're going to be doing some PPC ones coming up to round out the new year. And then into the new year, we're going to the wall with this every single week, whether it's email marketing, SEO copywriting, automations, all this kind of stuff, LinkedIn influencing, or no, I'm sorry, that's on my brain. Social influencing. But yeah, Lou, it's a pleasure, man. It's always good seeing you. For anyone watching this and doesn't know, every time I see Lou at an event, I always tell him, "Where's the beard? Where's the beard, dude?" Because he shaved it off. And I think the peer pressure has weighed on him enough to grow it back. So let that be a lesson. Be persistent.
Beard pressure, not peer pressure.
Beard pressure. Oh, I like that. Caroline went ahead and dropped the link in the chat to go right to the Skool. So if you're feeling a little tired from logistics talk because maybe you're spending a ton of money and you want to fix that, you don't got to go and search it. Just click the link over there. And she also dropped the link to the ZonPrep Chrome extension for you guys to take a look at. But yes, Lou, I will catch you in Skool. It sounds weird. It sounds like we're going to go to like, AP biology or something like that.
Never made it to that class, but okay.
We'll catch you guys later.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, everybody.